What is happening, y'all? It's your boy TB here from S&B Trading, coming out with a fresh new vid here today. Just wanted to do a little talking about what went down today in the stock market. We had a nice little green day on the S&P and just the market in general, with tech actually leading a bit of the push here today. I wanted to just talk in general about what has been going down in the market. This has been it has been a exodus from big tech into value stocks like McDonald's, like Coca-Cola, like healthcare stocks like United Healthcare. I mean, you look around these stocks, United Healthcare is sitting around its all-time highs. McDonald's basically at its all-time highs. I mean, look at this move, 232 over here at the start of October, all the way up to 276. I mean, this is just crazy kind of stuff that's going down. That is why the Dow Jones Industrial Average, or the DJI, I should say, is holding up like really strong compared to the rest of the market. I mean, you look at the S&P and it has pushed back quite a bit, but looking at the Dow, and if you look at the Nasdaq, it has really pushed back. I mean, we came back down here to lows that we made back here in early or mid-October. So you are just seeing all around. Let's take a look at Amazon. This crazy, look at this volume. This crazy just capitulation selling almost out of these big tech stocks after their rough earnings that they just had. I mean, Amazon with 5 consecutive days of very high volume selling. I mean, just crazy. You look at Meta. Oh God, Meta just it dumped after earnings and it has continued to dump, but it finally put in a nice green day today. Looking at Apple, there has been a huge amount of selling coming out of Apple. I mean, Apple dumped from 155 straight down to 135 over 4 trading sessions. Just crazy selling. I mean, you look at Microsoft, same thing. It dumped. Google, especially. Oh my gosh, Google. So this is just very obviously big money taking their dollars out of tech stocks and putting them into things that are considered safer in this economic climate. Because we know growth is just getting hammered by these interest rates. And that is ultimately the fear. And I think, especially since this last FOMC meeting, we had Powell come out and say that, his own words, that they're going to have to raise rates higher than they previously anticipated. I think that very much spooked the market because you look at the Dow Jones and it has just been ripping. I mean, I think it put in a solid massive green month last month, going up 14% over the month of October. Biggest green month it's had since way back here in COVID days. So that is ultimately what we are seeing. We are finally, I mean, not finally, it has been happening, but we are now really seeing these tech stocks come down to prices that they have not been at near since COVID. I mean, Amazon, way down here, at the bottom of COVID was about $82, and we are sitting at $90 right now. Crazy. Google. I mean, Google is one that's held up, which is kind of scaring me because Google is still has so much more way to the downside if it's going to get to those COVID lows. It is sitting around $90, a price it has not seen since way over here. I mean, not way over here, just about 2 years ago or so, in December of 2020. But just looking all around, and then we have Apple. That is still holding up very well. I mean, it's still way above its pre-COVID lows, which I don't, or its COVID lows, which I don't think it will be seen anywhere close to that. But this is what you need to look for when you are trying to see if we have seen full-blown capitulation through the entire market, is that when Apple, and I've been saying this for this entire year, it's the market is holding up as long as Apple holds up. Once you see capitulation, because Apple is the ultimate safe haven, it's the biggest stock, it makes the most money, yada yada yada. Enough has been said about Apple. But when you see people finally capitulating, it's going to be when they sell their shares of Apple, because Apple has been where they flock to for safety. And now it is still holding up, but it has had a rough last week. I mean, it dumped 11% that week. That was a bad week for Apple. Maybe one of the worst weeks this year for Apple. I think it might have been. Yeah, that was a rough one for Apple. So just tech in general is getting completely hammered. I mean, just terribly hammered. The Nasdaq is near its lows way back here. But today we had a nice little bounce, and I'm gonna check out SPX here and show you what levels I'm looking at for the future. You can see we pulled back over here. So this is mainly the most interesting thing I saw on the Nasdaq. or not on the Nasdaq, on the S&P, we have a crazy amount of buying coming in right over here at this 3720 level to like 3700. This is obviously where we have our support because look, it tried to go there. It tried to get yanked down below that. But then look at this. This is crazy. This happened on last Friday. God himself had limit orders placed right here because look at this. The second the S&P gets to 3710, bam, straight up. Second it gets 3710, straight back up. 3710, straight back up for a perfect little triple bottom. I know some people caught that, but then what's it come up and do? Test 3740, that's a critical level. Face a little bit of resistance, but then ultimately just rip through it. And then up until today, we had been bouncing off of 3791. So we were just in this tight little trading range that we finally broke out of. And it is looking good to the upside right now, dare I say it. I think we have gotten so much bad news. That FOMC was just, that was bad news. Powell coming out incredibly hawkish, just saying everything people didn't want him to say. We know the dollar is coming down a little bit, but it has still been holding up strong. Looking at the bond market, I mean, the bond market is just getting completely hammered. The 10-year is well above 4%. The 2-year also well above 4.5% now. I mean, bond yields are just skyrocketing. This is truly an impressive chart. This has been over this past year. Bonds have just been, ever since December, ever since the Fed said, yep, bond yields have quadrupled and there's just no end in sight. It is just going straight up every day, up. It is bad news when the bond market is doing that. So this is why I think we might see some upside. We have gotten a buy signal on the SPX. A buy signal, you know what I mean by that, right? I've talked about before on the system. Every time we cross that 50 simple moving average on the 30-minute chart, it tends to lead to more upside. And the way you can tell is when you want to watch where candles close. You don't want to just see one candle close and then immediately short or buy or go long. You want to see confirmation. So right here, you saw this candle. We opened above it. This morning, we rejected it. And then the next candle, we go above it, and then we reject it again. See where this candle closes? Right there. And then we get a strong candle. If you would have bought on that, set your stop loss right there, you're looking pretty great, 37.65. Because then it comes back up, rejects 37.91, comes back down, still gets bought up at 37.70, and that's the rest is history. We just kept going up. And then we also did get a nice little cup and handle right here on this 5-minute chart right there. Nice cup, little handle. You draw your trend line, break, and sayonara. Look at that volume. But as for the macro situation, we do have CPI report coming out. I believe on Thursday. Let's see here. But that is ultimately why we are seeing very low volume. So that's another worry, is that this buying is on super low volume. I mean, I say this a lot, but this is very low volume. This is the kind of volume you see heading into a big news kind of day. And that is a little concerning, but so CPI comes out on the 10th, so that will be Thursday. So I imagine we could chop around. We're just very range bound right now. We are hard stuck in this range on SPY at 368 at the bottom, 390 at the top. We could just chop in around this range, and I very well imagine we will. And I imagine a lot of day traders are going to get hammered trying to trade this price action. Today was a nice little uptrend day, but I fear that, I mean, it was it was very choppy for about the first like 3 hours. I mean, look, we open right here and we're just bouncing in between 376 and 378 until we finally broke out way over here at 11. So we got a solid like 4 hours of chop until we finally did something. So just don't get chopped around. I know it's very difficult in this market. You want to try to trade because there are such volatile moves, but this is just the type of movement that you see going into big news days, and you just want to have that dry powder. When I mean dry powder as in cash, you want to have that ready for when you know there is going to be some solid movement in the market. Can I find the rectangle tool? In here, there we go. So this is another just really nice supply and demand kind of move right here. Look at this rectangle. What's price do every time we get up there? It rejects. it sells off. We touch, reject, touch, reject, touch, reject, touch, reject, and then what do you see? We get up above there, and then what happens? You see the volume. That's what you got to watch for. Look at the volume over here. Volume, low. Volume on this test, pretty low. It fizzled out. On this test, very low volume. It fizzled out. High volume selling. Same with over here. You look at the buying volume, it's low, and then the selling picks up down here. So that is what you got to watch for. That's why volume is so important when you're using supply and demand. And then the exact same idea over here. You know that buyers are lined up. You know buyers are lined up right here because you see how strong. Look at this. Look at this one candle on the 5-minute. This is just beautiful. Look at this one candle on the 5-minute. You see that volume down there? That tells you that there are still buy orders left because all the orders were not filled at this price level. And you know that because the market was in a disagreement about price right there. It disagreed on the price. That's why it went up. And that's ultimately what moves prices. When you see this consolidation, that is when the market is completely in agreement on price. It is only when there's a disagreement where you will see movement, and it is where you see those disagreements that you will look to find future disagreements. And sure enough, what happened? We get to that price, boom, another disagreement. There's still buy orders right there. Big volume. Get to that price, still buy orders, boom, big volume. Get to that price over here, still a bunch of buyers, big volume out. So that's ultimately supply and demand, and that is a good way to trade through chop like this, is that you just say, hey, I'm not going to touch this. I'm not going to touch in between 377 and 370 because I know it's just a chop area. And that is just a really good way to trade this market, in my opinion. But looking at the Nasdaq 100, you can see Nasdaq was kind of doing the same thing, and now the Nasdaq has a lot of buy orders still sitting right there because you could see what happened that last CPI report. We had crazy buying at these levels, so you know there are crazy buyers at this level, and there are still buy orders left because look what happened when you got there. We tapped, bought off, tap, bought off, tap, bought off. So now we have broken above this resistance that we had on the Nasdaq. Actually, let's go to the Qs. We've broken out above this resistance that was there at 266.50. So now it is a matter of how strong this pushes out of here, and we also do have a buy signal on the Nasdaq. I imagine we're going to run up to 272 maybe tomorrow, if not just straight up reject out of this and come back down. Potentially, I'd like to see a nice little bounce if we pull back down here to 264 if we do reject off this level. But the next rejection to watch, and now you see that there was very low amount of volume right here. I mean, not a low amount of volume, but just a crazy amount of selling. Like this was a very quick drag straight down. So that means we could do the opposite very easily. We could easily go straight back through that. But it doesn't mean that we necessarily will. It just could happen if not us just gapping up. But I want to see a push to 272 and see what happens there. I imagine if the market were to get to 272, we would reject off of that, and then I'd love to see it pull back down to 267 or 269 area. But this is just a very, very oversold. I mean, the Nasdaq is crazy oversold. Look at the selling that we had these past 4 sessions. Just very high volume selling, and it is well overdue for a bounce. And it's just really weird. The Nasdaq has been going down so much more than the S&P because the S&P isn't just all tech like the Nasdaq. So this is just very clearly people just taking their money out of Amazon and taking their money out of Meta, Amazon, even Apple a little bit, and throwing it into the United Healthcares, into the Caterpillars. I mean, look at Caterpillar. It is sitting up at all-time highs too. Like these stocks are crazy overextended. Look how overextended this Caterpillar. Like, are you kidding me? What else? United Healthcare. I mean, these just crazy mega corporations are just well overextended. I think banks are also doing a little crazy stuff too, but that's besides the point. Oh yeah, they are having a crazy rally. Banks have just been going nuts. So what to watch out for next would just be some bounces in these tech names that are just killed right now. I mean, Amazon is in the dirt. Like, this is a brutal sell-off. It has dropped from 110 straight to $90 a share. Just rough stuff out there. Google, my near and dear to my heart Google, also just in the dirt right now. There are finally buyers here at this price, but Yeah, they are down bad. These names are just getting completely hammered. I am like an AMD to the upside. I am holding some AMD shares at the moment at about $61 price average. We got a nice daily close. This has been the highest daily close that we've had since like well over here. Since I mean, we haven't had a daily close above $63 in a minute. So it is looking like AMD is beginning to curl up, but this could very well could be, and I'm very much so watching out for this. This easily could just be a nasty bear flag, and it could break out to the bottom and see new lows. I just think the market is at a point right now, unless CPI comes out terrible. That's really where the market is, and this is just completely a very unpredictable market. You cannot look at anything and predict it because it's so much just on these things that you have no way of predicting, like CPI. No one can possibly predict what the CPI report is going to be. You cannot predict what a company's earnings are going to be. You can have a good idea going into it, but there are just so many macro news things that can come out that can just completely destroy your theories on everything. And now I'm going to take a look at Bitcoin because Bitcoin has been rather interesting these past few days on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, we have this supply up here. You can see this because we had a bunch of sell orders and there were still sell orders sitting here. It bounces off, and then what's it do? We rip through there, we dump through, and then every time we test this zone right here at 20,500 to about 20,300, we sell out of it. Touch it, sell out. Touch it. Oh, but then look, we finally break above it, and now look what it's doing. It is basing. It is getting support at that $20,000 level, and now we are right at the top of that little rectangle. I'm gonna see if Bitcoin can get a nice little bounce there, but Bitcoin has been putting. I mean, it's been doing work. We have gotten a higher high with a higher low right here, so we're looking like we're in an uptrend. But obviously, in the grand scheme, Bitcoin is very much on the down. But got a nice little trend line right there. It could be a bear flag, but Bitcoin is interesting because it is just people are not just selling it, but also people are not buying it. It has not had one of those crazy like face ripper green days in a very long time, and that's honestly a little concerning for Bitcoin because I remember it used to do that all the time. I mean, over here a 15% green day. Now it's like a big green day for Bitcoin is like maybe 8% if we're lucky. I mean, it had 10% green day over here at the about the end of or starting of September, but since then Bitcoin has just been very bizarre, very bizarre. Because it's just not nearly as volatile. Like it's been less volatile than the stock market. It's crazy. It's like it has so much support at this level, at the $18,000 to like $19,000 range, that people just aren't selling it at that price. At least not for now. It is still very much a risk-on asset. Still, as it's as speculative as it gets because it's based on its price is only based on supply and demand, and it is only based on what people are willing to sell it for. And it's not like stocks where you can look at their earnings and their price comes from that. It is a completely speculative asset, and that is all there is to it. So that's why it's hard to predict what Bitcoin's going to do. It has been tailing the Nasdaq, but up until recently, I mean, it has just been going sideways while the Nasdaq was dumping. So it is nice to see Bitcoin have some strength. It is very encouraging for the Bitcoin bulls out there, but still want to see Bitcoin to the upside. If you want, or let me go back to it. If you want to see Bitcoin keep this rally going, you're going to have to see. So this is obviously where we have sellers waiting right over here. Right over here at this 22,500 level. That is the last time that we got massively sold out of that. And you can see over here we've sold out off that level before as well. But that is the next level to break. And if we break that, it's looking good to the upside. And then above that, obviously 25,000. Big psych level, big support level. You can see a resistance level. You can see where it was support right here for a very short amount of time. And then what happened? It was resistance. It rejected and it dumped. So that's what is happening in Bitcoin. Other cryptos are doing much better than Bitcoin right now. Ethereum has been doing some nice stuff. It has been ripping recently. I mean, we got a nice move here. We got a 35% move from the bottom here on Ethereum, or not the bottom. I mean, its bottom is over here. Sheesh, we've been over here like a 90% move. God damn. But yeah, that's what's happening in crypto. As for like news crypto, I don't know. Yeah, I don't deal with all that crap. But Yeah, that's what's been going down in the market. Just looking at SPY again, I want to note my levels on SPY. We have a key level here at 380.79, a key level right below that at 378.56. And that's really the levels I'm looking at. And now we know we have some support at this 376 level. So if we do reject off this level up here at 381-ish, we could come back down to 377. But I think it's going to be a very choppy market, so I would play very, very light size these next few days, at least going into Thursday. But yeah, big tech is very oversold. It could see a crazy rally from these lows, so keep that in mind. Also, looking at Tesla. Tesla is just down bad as well, and that's another one where money is just flocking. It is fleeing from these big tech names. So another thing to watch out for. It is heading for these 2021 lows right now. It's crazy. So Tesla, I mean, this is about as easy as it gets on Tesla. Tesla right here, if it doesn't have support at 181, Tesla's going to come down fast. It's going to dump quickly. So keep that in mind if you're a Tesla trader. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the vid. Drop a like, a comment, a sub. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the viewers. And keep your head up. This market has just been tough, man. It's tough for everyone. No one likes this market. And that is just, it's the pain. When you get 2 years of everything going straight up, you're going to get some pain. And we're dealing with that now. So keep your heads up. Brighter days will be ahead of us soon.